Welcome to Prescribing Lifestyle, the podcast that's all about empowering you to live your healthiest, happiest life. I'm your host, Dr. Avi Charlton, and each week we'll dive into the latest research, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you optimize your well-being. From nutrition and fitness to mental health and mindfulness, we'll explore every aspect of lifestyle medicine, giving you the tools you need to make informed decisions and take control of your health. Whether you're looking into preventing disease, managing chronic conditions, or simply elevate your quality of life, Prescribing Lifestyle is here to guide you on your journey to wellness. So, sit back, relax, and get ready to embark on this transformative adventure towards a healthier, happier you. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. I've got a return guest today. I've got Julia Rudakova from Oxygen Revolution. She was my guest back in episode 33, and that was actually a live episode we recorded together in my clinic, probably last year already. So thank you so much, Julia, for coming back onto the Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me again. Pleasure. And so I'll briefly introduce myself again, as it was last year that we spoke.
Yes, please.
I'm a naturopath. My business is Oxygen Revolution. That was kind of honed towards breathwork more, but I'm like a GP naturopath, you may say. I see people of all ages with all sorts of complaints about their health, and I help them to navigate that journey using multiple tools that we all accumulate throughout learning and training, years of that in our practice. So this is a little bit about me.
Amazing. How Julia and I connected was just through LinkedIn. I searched up functional breathing, and she had Buteyko breathing training as well. And then we had coffee together, and then we connected. And she actually just works around the corner up in the mountains, Ferny Creek. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Julia's a naturopath who talks about breathing, and she's also got a special interest in sunlight, which I want to talk about today and pick her brain on how sunlight affects your health.
Yes, let's talk about that. I'm super, super passionate about that. That is kind of one of 5 pillars of health that I talk about, because we all need to go back to the basics to build our health, right? And it's all about lifestyle, as you know, Avi, right?
Yes.
And sunlight is one of them, one of those basics that everyone must go to if they want to have a good health and well-being and feel good emotionally, mentally, physically, because sunlight has an effect on all those areas of our body. And it's interesting that people in the past, they used to have exposure to sunlight quite extensive. They would walk to their place of work, right? Or, on the horse, but there would be some unfiltered, and by unfiltered, I mean no glass. Even a thin pane of glass would filter certain wavelengths. Yes, because when we think about sunlight, most people, what do they think? They think danger, right? That's the brainwashing that we've had.
Yeah.
And they think sunburns, and they think discomfort for their eyes, right? We have sunglasses. They're like a fashion statement now, and everyone must have them. And if you don't mind, I'm going to talk about them too.
Let's talk about them.
So yes, but the sunlight is actually an array of wavelengths ranging from like those tiny waves, like X-ray waves, like a few nanometers to a few meters long, right? 10 meters, like radio waves. So from X-rays to radio waves, and in between it's red light, it's ultraviolet light, infrared, all those things that we kind of know of, and we think some of them are healthy, some of them are damaging. But in reality, we need all of that. Yeah,
Yes.
that's the reality of things. And I know about that because in high school, I had a keen interest in physics. Actually, I went
Wow.
to a
Yeah.
specialist physics and math class, and I remember, all those waves talk, and I thought it's fascinating how some waves can penetrate through things and some waves can be absorbed by certain matter, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happens to certain wavelengths from the sun. So we have ultraviolet light that we know helps us produce vitamin D, right?
Yeah.
And that's the anti-inflammatory. We know that, and in real form from sunlight, when we absorb it through skin or retina, right? That's very important. That's where sunglasses come in.
Yeah.
That is super, super important. And ultraviolet light, it kind of it can be filtered. So on an overcast day, we wouldn't have as much, but we'll still have some. Yeah, if you go to BOM app and look at the forecast, they will tell you, the danger, the UV kind of rating, right?
Yes.
And then on an overcast day, it will be a bit less, but we still get it. So it's still beneficial to get it even through clouds. And infrared light, it has a different nature. And what I call it, it's like a primer to receive that ultraviolet light. And we can see, so red light, so the sunset, red hues. So that's the sunset light and the sunrise light.
Yeah.
But when we get that, and that's when people used to go to work, right? To ride on a horse or, walk into the field or to workshop or to whatever, right?
Yeah.
And they would get that primer, right? And then maybe during the day they would run errands or sit outside, and they can actually utilize that ultraviolet light easier. So because infrared, it's kind of like a moisturizer for mitochondria, for all the cells.
Wow.
It's actually like water, for the cells, that infrared light. And then we can utilize it. The nature kind of establish the cycles,
Yeah.
So another question is, I'll go into that because that's the most frequently asked question about sunburns and whether it's okay to not wear anything.
We're brainwashed. We slip, slop, slap, and cover ourselves up. Sunscreen, sunglasses. We've been brainwashed to not expose ourselves to sunlight.
Yeah, because you and I, we're researchers. We go back to the facts, and it's all available. So what I teach my clients is, you can do that yourself. You don't have to listen to a scientist because there is data available everywhere. So PubMed, right? Website where it's a compilation of all the medical research in any field, pretty much. You can just Google blah, 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 PubMed, and it's very heavy on, the
it's
language.
very hard for everyone.
But what I tell them, you just scroll to the conclusion. And scroll to the conflict of interest, who sponsored the research. And basically just read those bits if you don't want to go into the heavy stuff. And that will give you kind of an idea of what's going on. And read a few if you get into that subject. So about the brainwashing, yes, I actually went and had a look. So it was early 80s in Australia when rolled out to that Sleep Slap Slop campaign. And there is a connection to a certain brand, I think, who invented all that. They were selling sunscreen. And then it was kind of promoted by the medical system as well.
Yes, I know.
And it's interesting. They claimed that the melanoma was on the rise. Right? Skin cancer, and that's why they rolled it out. But if you go and have a look at the stats and the charts, that it's actually rising so much more after they rolled out the Sleep Slap Slop. You really need to just look at the charts. They're all there, right?
Yeah, wow.
I'm not making them up.
This is really similar to the food industry with the big foods, and we're still getting lots of cancers.
Right?
The big pharma sponsoring all the studies, and we're still getting lots of cancers, bowel cancers, all the cancers. Now you're researching. It's a sunscreen company sponsoring the research on skin cancers, and we're still getting lots of melanomas. I think it's a lot more to do with other things other than the sun and the UV and the sunburn.
Right. And because you touched upon food,
Yep.
you can eat your sunscreen. Another contributing factor to sunburns and all sorts of skin conditions associated with sunlight is to do with nutrition, how we eat.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's
what
right.
sort of fats we eat.
Yes.
They're processed fats.
That's right.
And damaging for our gut, for our bacteria in the gut, who actually help us, with the vitamin D utilization.
Yeah, that's right.
And eating vitamin D, right? If we think, how did people survive, in the far north, Europe, Siberia, right? Because there's very limited sunlight, but we need it, so they ate their vitamin D throughout long winter months. So that would be cod liver oil, right? Cod livers, they would eat the actual livers, right? They would eat lots of fat, and they would be preserved mushrooms. They are a very good source of vitamin D as well.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize we don't just get vitamin D from sunlight. We get vitamin D from healthy fat, or the good fats from foods as well. And that is a huge way of how we can get vitamin D.
Yeah, because it's a fat-soluble substance. It's like a semi-hormone, they say nowadays, right? With some emergent research and how it affects our hormonal health, right? And kind of moving through that, and now we touched upon the hormones, and we were talking before the recording started about the circadian rhythm, right?
Yeah. Let's go into the circadian rhythm. How does the circadian rhythm work with sunlight?
Yes. So what I like to how I like to explain it to people is that we have different hormones in the body, right? We have hormones of stress that are produced by the adrenal glands. We have thyroid hormones. We have our sex hormones, and we have insulin, which is released by pancreas to digest sugars, right? That's a hormone. And we have sleep hormone, right? And they're constantly in communication. All of them. They give each other feedback. They never exist separately. Like, you can't just treat your sex hormones. Right? You can put all the, hormonal therapies, and you can kind of shift things artificially, and it will work for some time. It may work for some time, but then, the issue why they got out of whack is not addressed anyway, right? So this beautiful hormonal dance starts in the morning when your cortisol goes up and your melatonin goes down. And that's the idea. And that is normally with the input of sunlight. Right? We've got to have that brightness onto our retinas. And that brings me to the main point that I talk to pretty much every day on my social media and the stories, right? Eyeballs into the sunlight for at least 10 minutes before 10 a.m. And if you wear prescription glasses, preferably without them, because they will filter some things out. And normally they have this coating, the reflective coating, and it's not good. So if you can afford to sit and sip a cup of tea, or if you walk to your workplace, that's fantastic. Park as far as possible from the entrance, right? So that you can use that time to walk to the entrance of your office or shops or whatever. And so it's interesting. You know that there is an app that measures the intensity of light. It's called Lux, Lux.
Yeah, yep.
like play with it, right? I installed it on my phone a few years ago, and just last year it was a very miserable autumn day. Yes, it was autumn, and it was like raining. And in the morning, you know, when you wake up and you turn light in the kitchen, and normally it's like very bright down lights.
Yep.
And you look outside and it feels like it's still nighttime because
Yep.
it was raining, but it was at probably 8:30 or 9. Yes.
Yep.
It wasn't like super early when you expect to be like dark, and I thought, okay, so let's try it out. Yeah. So I put that. So the app works. You put the side of your phone up,
Yeah. Okay.
and it measures. So through the camera, through whatever the screen,
wow.
and I got a number of light intensity, and then I went outside. So there was rain, there was clouds, and the number was higher.
Ah, okay. I'll get that app. I'll put the link on the show notes. I'll try that app.
There are so many apps. I don't know. It's just
there
called
are.
Lux, right?
Okay, Lux.
That measure that. Lux is a unit of measurement for that intensity light. So yes, that was like fascinating. And I keep saying that every time telling this story because I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
Even with the clouds, even with the rain, you still get so much more. And the broad spectrum, because we know that this, whatever we have inside, is not full spectrum. And we need all of that to start that hormonal dance. We need the infrared that's not here at all. For office workers who sit inside from 9 to 5, that's so damaging for the mental health, emotional health, and physiology.
That's right. Yeah. Let's get into the artificial light since you started it. What is the artificial light? Why is it so damaging, and what does it do to our body?
Yes, how I started thinking about that, and it was years ago. And the story was from my mentor, the late Judy Jacker, who is the founder with her husband. They founded the oldest naturopathic school in Melbourne, Australia, and Southern School of Natural Therapies. And she was the pioneer in her field, and she recognized the importance of full spectrum light. And she actually installed full spectrum light bulbs at the school. For the students. So that technology was developed decades ago for submarines, so that the military knew about the benefits as well. And they developed those full spectrum light bulbs for people who served their military time in submarines. So that their mental health doesn't go down the drain and their physiology keeps working properly with hormones and all that. And so she did that, and that made me thinking a lot, right? And then I did all the research, and nowadays we have different types of light bulbs, like fluorescent. Yeah, and they mostly used still in some workshops and offices, the tubes that we have in the garages. And the danger with that is they flicker, and the blue light, the green blue light, and also they contain mercury a little bit. And most of them, they're not nowadays. We have LED lights, right? And you can get them in bright white or warm white. Even the warm white, it's still very limited with the range of, the type of light that they produce. So what I recommend for all my hormonal women or people who are struggling with hormonal health, any sort, thyroid, anything, right? Because they're all connected, or mental health, is to stop using that after sunset. And really invest. So I'm not affiliated with that company, but that was the first company that I came across in Australia, and I got my light bulbs from them. So it's blockbluelight.com.au.
Yeah, Block Blue Light.
I So no ceiling light after sunset, right? So kind of floor light, bedside table sort of level, right? So that we don't stimulate. And do invest. I think even if you don't have any prominent health issues, but you're health conscious and you want the best of health for your family and yourself, I think it's a great investment. They do last a long time. And you can buy amber lights or red light bulbs. And I have red light bulbs in the bedroom and kind of amber ones.
Yeah.
Like the kitchen area, if we like make cups of tea in the evening. My family is big on the tea culture. And
Yep.
yes, I'll just sit in the living room. Even if you watch TV, but you have that light, that are kind of evening everything out, really.
Yes. So reduce your artificial light in the evening.
Correct.
I have blue light blocker sunglasses. What do you think about those?
I think they're probably not a bad idea for people who spend a lot of time in front of the screen.
Yeah.
Yes, I did try. So I tried all of that.
Yeah.
I had those ones that, are nearly clear. So therefore working at the laptop, I had the amber ones.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't be able to work in them because do you have the amber ones or do you have the clear ones?
I've got the yellow blue light blockers for daytime and I have the orange for nighttime. I can't work with the orange ones in the evening. It just distracts me so much. But the yellow ones during the day I can, but I quite often forget about them and it's in my handbag, so I just have to remind myself a bit more.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because they block when you have amber or red ones.
Yeah.
Because you can't see certain, so you look at color blue, and it appears like nearly black to you.
Yeah.
Because of that interesting chemistry and physics, and it's beautiful. We do need a little bit of blue light to keep that alertness, right? We need it all. It's not like the blue light is the enemy.
Yeah.
No, it never is. However, the excessive exposure, that 9 to 5 sort of staring at the screen on and off, that's a lot.
Yeah,
That's
is.
a lot. And also kind of being exposed to those light bulbs that are definitely not full spectrum ones.
Yeah, the artificial light bulbs is all, we call it junk light, same as junk food. It's too much exposure to the junk light is just not good for our health. That's all.
Absolutely, no.
Too inflammatory and it's not exposing ourselves to our full spectrum outside sunlight. Do you recommend people going outside, having some breaks in the middle of the day?
Of course, Avi, as much outside time as you can, right?
Yeah.
And the older we get, the less we do it, right? I don't know, it's a weird thing that we have in our modern life. Like literally people have, I don't know, sometimes up to 5 minutes. I don't know, it's shocking of exposure to the outside world because it's driving, walking quickly to the entrance of the building.
Yeah.
And back, and sometimes it's an underground garage, car park, and you don't get anything at all. And it's just mind-blowing, that pattern that we have. And yes, if you go outside, so remember how I mentioned that, you need to get that morning light to prime yourself for future exposure, right? And then when you go outside for lunch break, then it's a good idea, again, not to use sunglasses. And that's why I just wanted to touch, because it's such an important topic. Sunglasses have its place under the sun for driving. Yeah, so when driving conditions are not safe, they're a lifesaver, literally. Yeah, you must see well when you're driving.
Yeah.
So, that glare from the road, or when the sun is so low, by all means use them, right?
Yeah.
However, during the day if you're out. So when you have sunglasses on, what information the brain gets is that there is no sun. Yeah, so you're blocking the ultraviolet light. So the brain gives directives, commands, programs to all the cells in the body. We know that. That's our computer, right?
Yeah.
It receives information, inputs, and then says, okay, so you produce that, yeah, to protect you.
Yeah.
So the body is not producing protecting substances, right? Melanin.
That's right.
It just stops doing that because the brain receives that it's safe, it's all right, and you get sunburns, right? So that's why kind of sunglasses work really well with sunscreens. I do not promote that.
Yeah. So I stopped using sunglasses when I go out for walks in the morning, or even if I go running during the day, and even in the evening walk, I don't use sunglasses anymore. And even when I'm driving in the morning to work, I've stopped putting the sunglasses on. And I only use it when it's very bright in the middle of the day, or when I'm driving home like 3 or 4 o'clock in the late afternoon when it's really sunny.
Yes.
And it's a bit sad with my sunglasses. I'm not using them much anymore.
And you can look so cool in them. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Statement for many people. I get
Absolutely.
it. I was very glad to say goodbye to them too.
That's right.
But I can't do them anymore. And some people say that they can't go without them. And for me, I don't know what's your stance on that. So I figured that it's to do with the adrenal health. So when the adrenals are exhausted, people won't be able to stand the brightness of the sunlight. So for me, it's like a little sign that we need to work in that direction to support the adrenals.
What do you think? Slowly build up on the sun exposure?
Yes. Like start in the shade. You don't need to go outside when it's super bright in the middle of the day. Don't do that to yourself if you can't tolerate that.
Yeah.
Start in the morning.
That's right. I think it's understanding the importance and the benefits of it. Like when I talk to people about the foods, understanding how the good foods it is and how dangerous it is with the sugar, then you can slowly wean yourself with sugar and then build yourself with eating good foods. And same with the sunlight. The more you understand the benefits of sunlight, then you can slowly improve your sunlight exposure, build yourself up, and then get more and more outside, building up and reducing the artificial lights. It's more about learning and reframing the thoughts about these natural therapies.
It is about learning, absolutely. And when you realize that it is a free medicine that is available for everyone right now, we build some sort of shield around the earth and start selling them. Anyway, so it is free and you can take it. You just need to know how it works and how to take it properly, because people of the past, they had that knowledge. It was a common sense for everyone. And nowadays, with a different lifestyle, we need to relearn that again.
Absolutely.
And to know that it is so beneficial for your hormonal health, for your mental health, emotional health. I just tell you some anecdotal things that I had fertility clients, women who came to me for fertility or for different hormonal imbalances. And we started doing that. They were finding it super hard to do supplementation, with compliance and all that. They did some changes around their diet because, it's easier nowadays, I think, to get the message across about the diet because, ingesting something feels like more tangible and are ready to, but this is kind of intangible. You're just out there and what? So we started doing that and they actually had great results just doing that. It doesn't come around overnight. It's a few weeks of work of doing that diligently, consistently.
What sort of problems, for example, that you can say?
Or fertility, like
Fertility.
trying to conceive, right? So
Okay.
not being able to conceive easily in the past.
And did your patient get a baby?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. What about the menopausal women? Have you?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. That's, I see more of them. That's the thing, as we move through, our stages in life, we kind of attract clients like that as well.
Yeah, same.
And so I see quite a few menopausal and perimenopausal women, and I always recommend that because this is your first line of defense of medication, and then you build upon that.
And so do you see them less menopausal symptoms, or do they lose weight easier?
Well, Avi, unfortunately, the truth of the matter is that people come to see me as a last resort, most often than not, and we'll have to use other things as well. So with menopausal women, I do not have a clear kind of experiment that they used only sunlight. It was in conjunction with herbal medicine, for example, but definitely we have results.
Amazing, amazing. So just before we hopped onto the call, on your website, you've got a course or a webinar that you had. Sunlight is medicine. Tell us about that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so it's called The Medicine of Light, and it's a recorded webinar that I ran last year. And I decided to record it and put it out there. It's like a recorded consultation about sunlight. So as you know, I talk about that to my clients.
Yeah.
Treatment room, and it's a long conversation. So we've been talking for just over half an hour now. Yeah. Just touched briefly on different, like you need to eat for your vitamin D, right? You need to do this for these hormones. And so it's a big conversation. So that one's about an hour long. So it's like a proper consult.
Yeah.
And I thought I can just refer people to that so that they can listen to it. And again, it's a rental actually. And educate themselves, because the more we know, the easier it is to implement and to act, right? If I just say, well, you need to go out and have 10 minutes of sunlight before 10 a.m., the person's like, okay, whatever. I may do that.
Yeah.
But when you know the whys behind it, it just sinks in. Like you can't unlearn that. You can't know that. It's just with you. Yeah, and it becomes part of you.
Amazing, yeah.
So you just listen to that a few times.
Yeah.
And it becomes part of your lifestyle.
Great. So all our listeners can go and rent this webinar from your website. So tell the listeners where they can find you.
I can share the link with you.
That'd be great.
Put it out there. But it's oxygenrevolution.com.au.
Yeah.
And it's either in the resources section or in the shop.
Yeah, it's in the
shop where you can get it from. Yeah. And it's called The Medicine of Light.
Yeah, I'll put all the links in the show notes, and then our listeners can go and rent your webinar.
Thank you.
And you're very active. You've got lots of information on your social media. Tell us how our listeners can find you on the social media.
On Instagram. I'm mostly on Instagram.
Yeah.
I have grown to love this platform, and it's oxygen_revolution.
Sure.
And on Facebook, it's just my name. It's Julia Rudakova.
I'll put the links on the show notes as well. And you do a lot of Buteyko breathing coaching that we talked about last time in episode 33. So just a very brief, since we're running out of time, just a very brief idea on what you do for coaching on breathing. I've referred a few patients and little kits to you about coaching on breathing. So just to touch base again.
Well, Buteyko breathing I call it functional breathing. It's just establishing that baseline of your blood chemistry, of breathing mechanics. We address that because most often they're not stressed people and asthmatic people. And people with emphysema, that's, the main clients that I get, they have very dysfunctional patterns. They utilize, the incorrect muscles like chest muscles, and they don't breathe consistently through the nose because the brain receptors are very used to different chemistry. So we kind of retrain that. Retrain the brain, retrain the muscles. And with kids, I'm very passionate because I used to work with kids at Braceless Choice for a few years. And I even developed a book, a little kids book with a few exercises and some information for parents. And I think that was a missing link because it's very hard to make kids sit and focus and just listen to instructions. But with some visual aid, they actually look at the pictures and trace the pictures with their fingers, kind of kinesthetic sort of thing. And yes, they like that. That's fun, yes.
Yeah, so I've got a copy of Julia's book called 4 Journeys, and Julia's very kindly given me a copy. And I've been recommending to some of the kids that I see, because these kids, they breathe through their mouth and they cough and then they have asthma. I see so many of them, and the kids, I've referred them to Julia to retrain, and I don't know, some of them.
As an aid, because you do breathe in as well. And I've been meaning to pop my book into your clinic too. So last year I released a very concise version of all the things that I learned. It's called Your Breathing Coach, and all the main exercise. So it's good to have alongside working with someone, right? Just that it's like a little reference book with some inspiration at the back. And yes, it's, I think, a great tool as well for people who want to solidify their knowledge in breath work, or just to have some reference so that they don't have to go online all the time.
Yeah. Amazing. Great. All right. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Julia, for coming on to the Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast.
My pleasure, Avi. Thank you.
Great. Until next time. Hopefully all our listeners have lots of take-home message from Julia, and you can get into contact with Julia through Oxygen Revolution. I'll put all the links in the show notes. And thank you again, Julia, for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. And as I say to my listeners, if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after anybody else. Until next time, we'll bring another guest to the Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. Before we wrap up, I have an exciting news to share. I have a new ebook called Low Carb Made Easy. It's now available. This guide is perfect for anyone looking to dive into the low carb lifestyle. Inside, you'll find the basic theory behind low carb eating, a detailed food list, practical meal plan, and a variety of delicious recipes. It's designed to make a journey to better health easier, simpler, and enjoyable. For those who prefer a hard copy, head over to my website and register your interest using the link provided. My website is www.mlcclinic.com.au. Head to online store. Remember, the information shared in this podcast, it's for educational purposes only and not proper medical advice. Always consult your medical professional before making any changes to your lifestyle and diet, or you can come and see me in Melbourne Low Carb Clinic. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with us on social media. Your feedback will help us improve and reach more listeners. Lastly, if you found this episode helpful, please share it with your friends and family. Together, we can make a positive impact to our health and our communities. Thanks again for listening, and as always, stay healthy and happy. Until next time.